I know. Good afternoon. It's really my pleasure here to present what we are doing in terms of artificial intelligence at Eurocontrol, at least give you a flavor of it. Somebody before asked the question, is it not too difficult to keep an eye on everything that is being developed in your company? I would say, yes, it is really hard for me. So nearly every 3 months, I discover somebody developing something. Okay, so I can understand what it is when you have even a bigger company. So first, because you may not be all familiar with what we do at Eurocontrol. So we are an organization of 41 plus one member, because Iceland is going to join us on 1st of January 2025, and two comprehensive agreement with Israel and Morocco, so altogether 44. We have a number of activities, and one of our main operational activity at Brussels is the network to manage the network. So at European, and in fact pan-European, because as I explained, we are beyond the EU countries. There we have really operational roles, and as we were discussing with Pierre, it's really important that you understand that it's also us as Eurocontrol, based on capacity, information that we get from our member states, ANSPs, that we regulate the traffic if necessary. Okay, and I will show you how with AI we can help there to make less regulation to our flow. There are also two technical areas that we're responsible for, and I will show you how AI is getting there: CNS monitoring and aviation spectrum. Then we have this MUAC area over the denser airspace of Europe, where in fact Eurocontrol is responsible for controlling that airspace. 16% of the overall European traffic is going through MUAC airspace. So huge thing. Oh, sorry. Then we have two other centers, one in Brittany that Pierre was managing before, where we're doing research and innovation, but also we have real-time simulations for our stakeholders. And then finally, in Luxembourg, we have a training center where we give courses on AI, but not only, as I will present to you. So in fact, on all those four sites, we have AI that is progressing. And in fact, it's progressing pretty rapidly. If I step back and I put myself in 2019, we had only 3 applications, these ones. Okay, one being in place at MUAC, but that's only for the flow of traffic there, not for controlling the aircraft. One being supported on the CNS area for the ionospheric gradients, as I will explain, and then on the flight plan error detections in the NM Ops Center. Now, after 5 years, we have more than 50 applications. It's nearly addressing all the areas we have, and in fact, it's growing exponentially. And why is it growing? Because of a number of key enablers that we have put in place. Because in 2019, it was just fanatics, curious people who wanted to know what they could do with the AI thing. But now it's more structured. We have hired a number of AI skills, and I must say that if in 2019 it was not so easy to find some people trained for that, now it's very generic, okay? So that helps. And then we have trained our staff. We have also put in place, especially in Brittany, a quick innovation cycle, which complements the work that we do in CESAR, and which delivers a number of prototypes within 6 months that can be further industrialized. So this is really how we wanted to accelerate the process. Then we mentioned the fact that, yes, we needed to collect more data than we were doing before in 2019. And also we had AI models to manage, because we are creating lots of models. And in fact, we are at a stage where we see that these applications that are bubbling here and there, they can be aggregated and be more efficient, in fact, for our mandates. And then what I see appearing more and more in our teams is the use of generative AI. For the moment, it's quite limited, but we see that growing to our really business area. And what is coming, and Guillaume presented, is will have to comply to the regulation. So far, it was not linked to EASA, but with the conformity assessment, the network manager, for example, and MUAC will be regulated through EASA. Higher levels of AI and automations, that's what we're looking for, but in a much longer term. You will see here in my short presentation how much we can do already and how much we deliver already without getting into critical application, safety critical application. So I just want to highlight a few ones that I will not develop further. Library, for example, we have developed based on GenAI, special models that can extract all the information we have in this huge database that we have built upon years. And in fact, at Eurocontrol, we have a huge number of documents and we can exploit them much better, extract all the knowledge, transform it for the young generation who seems to be just duplicating some of the work that was done, but it's been lost. So we are working on this as well. So let's move, into the research and innovation pipelines. So I mentioned that new initiative at Brittany. And here I want to show you that in 2 years' time, nearly, we have all these AI applications that are either in live trials or up to operation already. So it's really quick. It's really something that people can extract, use, because we're preparing just a prototype and we hand it over to our users. So, for example, for the airlines, for the NSPs, and for the network manager, which I come from. And if I take one example, it's amazing what we have done here with the curfew infringement prediction. This is a tool that helps the airlines to anticipate the knock-on delay on the last rotation of their flight to make sure that they will not fall into this curfew time and will not have to be diverted. In terms of cost impact for an airline, this is huge. Each diversion you would avoid is thousands of euros. So this is really an amazing application. We have seen that since it's been put in place, we have a reduction of more or less 20% of diversions due to curfew. So again, it's not safety critical, but this is really useful and cost efficient. Now we're working together with partners under the CSOR umbrella, and for the AI flagship projects of CSOR, we are involved in 4 of them, especially on the human aspects, because so far what I will show you has nothing to do with humans. So we are tackling it more and more, but we need in-depth research work. And then what we do with the simulator, we are looking at pseudo-pilots being replaced by AI-based pseudo-pilots. So there are more flexibility and reduce the cost of those simulations. Now, what I want to highlight here is the first operation that was put in place in MUAC. That was already in January 2018. And then they got the approval, and since then it's been under operation. There was no problem during the COVID phase at all. There was no retraining special or whatever. It's a very simple one, because the problem they wanted to solve, in fact, is that part of the traffic that is planned to fly on the airspace is not flying. And the reason for that is that the flight would get direct to and make it outside their airspace. So for the purpose of the flow, they wanted to avoid it, and they used a neural network hybrid with some information on how the control is being done, the clearances, etc. And they used the data they had in terms of traffic flow around the Europe, and also taking due account of the frequent military exercise that are happening there. And it's pretty good. It's really helpful. They go for it, and it's been like this for nearly 7 years. Now they do a little bit more, and we heard a lot about contrast today. And I'm grateful for those people who explained so well the problem. In fact, at Eurocontrol, we have two teams working on them. One in Brittany that is involved in the ContrailNet activity, which is exactly what was presented this morning, getting more information and more data and labeling that terrible work of labeling each image, etc. It's such a big effort. We have decided that we would do the effort together. So these guys are really collecting those data. Now in MUAC, there's something else happening, because even if we understand better the contrails with these pictures, with this AI capability, what we need also to know is whether we can operate them. And so MUAC has developed a new operational concept that provides a different flight level if there is a contrail risk. And in fact, they will send an aircraft in a region at an altitude where there should not be any contrail. So for that, there's no AI at the moment. There's not just a physical model for the contrails. But that was not sufficient to justify the unknown. And what they decided to do in a second step was, in fact, to add a number of cameras on the ground. And that's where they're using the AI to verify that where they're sending the aircraft, there is effectively no contrail formation. Okay, so that's the only part. So they can continue to do the operation. The operation is nothing they have changed with AI. But we are getting used to AI, understand better AI, collect more data for the AI by labeling it, etc., through this kind of exercise as well. Then they're introducing also speech recognition in the training section. And also they're working on Gen AI to make use of it for their processes. How can they improve it? And going back to the Network Manager Operational Center, just wanted to present you 3 applications, very simple but promising ones. The first one is already in place. It's a very, very simple one. Our guys are getting about hundreds of NOTAMs per day. They have to go through all of them. Some are important and some are not important for them. In fact, there's only 1% that is important. And so we just use a very simple model of AI to make sure that they get them at the beginning. And in reality, this simple thing is saving a lot of time for them. And so we could measure a 33% efficiency gain. So it's just to show that very simple things can help your business. So now I'm getting into this regulation part and focusing here with this application, Isobar, into an application that is concentrating on weather impact. You heard how bad the summer was with all these weather events, so we need to do something. And this may help this one, because the idea is really to go from a reactive traffic regulation that we're doing into a predictive one. So we have developed a model taking into account the weather elements, the demands, the airspace priority of users, and we have developed an AI module based on 2 things. And one is really classifying the kind of event that is happening and the fact that there is an impact or not on the capacity. And the second, the predictor model, is this time setting the regulation that needs to be put in place. It doesn't mean that we will use it like that, but it will mean that if we have 4 hours, we have more time to communicate and to discuss with those who have a more refined weather information, whether that's going, we should take actions, operational action or not, and to limit the risk of too huge actions or too late actions, which have a lot of consequences, especially for the airlines. The second one is on the airport side of the NMOC, where we have this role of integrating the airports. And here we have developed an application that is taking everything we have in the airport corner from the airports. We have the flight predictions, we have the weather predictions, we have the airport events like any strike or whatever, and we have the NOTAMs. And that goes into our model. And it gives us, as a minimum, 30 hours in advance, the information with a high probability of whether we would have to regulate at a given airport. And that is being presented in the morning briefing. And again, it's a question of getting better and reduced regulation on the network and at these airports. This is in trial mode at the moment. It's not connected directly to our system because of safety discussions, but it will also be offered to airport airlines in the future. And what I forgot to say is that both these two applications will be integrated into our new INM system in the Wave 3. So CNS monitoring, I'll just take one example here. We have, as I showed you, we have the responsibility to monitor the capability of our infrastructure on CNS in Europe. And there we have developed, as you can see, 8 applications, and some of them are already in deployment. For the one at the top, the ionosphere agents, it's already being used since a while. It's embedded in the prediction, the integrity model of the GBOS system. We are also, another interesting thing, especially with what we saw this morning, is that we have decided to put some antennas on top of Britain's building to monitor what the drones were doing, and we discovered that many were flying where they should not be flying. Okay, but we were clueless. And with AI, that opened our eyes. We could identify whether this drone was flying for monitoring purposes, was flying, for example, to deliver something into the jail of Fleurus Morogis or somewhere else. AI is really opening our eyes in the CNS monitoring. It's extending our capabilities. And then very, very briefly, AI for cyber. Here we have developed a first application just to see what it could give us, where in fact we know we have lots of documents that can be leaked, but how many are linked to aviation, especially ATM, or ATM is normally known as cash machine and not as air traffic management. And in fact, it was amazing because it's a very simple application, but we have a high success rate at 99%. It saves resources with tedious work. This is where AI is really useful at the moment. Remove the work that people are bad at and put the system like this. It does the job well, and it releases your resources for concentrating on better things. And here we have other applications. I just want to highlight the chatbot that we have developed. We used an open source product, but we customized it. Why? Because first, we don't want to release any information about cyber because it can be poisoned. It can be really bad. It comes from the dark net. We cannot. So we have that in isolation. Okay, and in fact, that application has been used and customized to other services in Eurocontrol, like the legal service, where you don't want to know what these people are doing if they have some specific case that are very confidential. Voilà, and the last one is LPAC AI-enabled. I just wanted to highlight this because this is in training, so they're giving training courses on AI, but here it's different. They're also they're assessing, in fact, the capabilities of the controllers and the pilots in the way they communicate according to ICAO provisions. And here the idea is that can we replace that test, that assessment with an AI-enabled? So for the moment, it's only a technical study that has been run, but you can imagine there are much more ethical elements, human elements that we need to look at. But I think that's interesting to see the case. So for the regulatory framework, we're working with Guillaume, we're working on SAE as well, okay? And then what I want to say is that I'd like to see you next year in April. Come with your ideas, come with your demos, come with your, if you want to be on the program, just let me know. We are running the third one, third event like this. We always had 200 people in the meeting room. We had thousands online. It is the place to be. It's really the place to share what you're doing. It was really interesting for me to be here today to hear more of what I know. And so I'm really grateful, and that ends my presentation.
Thank you.